Hey there, welcome to 21 Secrets to Retail Success. I'm your host and facilitator, Nicole Sims. Welcome to day 19. Today we're talking to Tara Paton, who is the founder of the Disruptive Marketing Method. And she's over 14 years of marketing experience working with brands like L'Oreal, Purology, Reckitt, and American Express. And now she helps founders with their marketing strategies to help them grow, scale, and stay profitable. Today we talk about all things marketing with a little different approach. She talks about the holistic view of marketing, the number one thing you need to have for your marketing, and she gives a lot of misconceptions of debunked for what you really need to have for your marketing plan. It's a great conversation. If you want to miss it, stay tuned. Hi, good morning, Tara. How are you?
I am doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thanks you for being with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time and being part of the event.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Right. So we're going to right into our questions. So my first question for you is, in terms of marketing and integration, what do you think is your number one secret to being successful for a small retail business?
So I don't know that this is a secret. I think that this is just something that folks don't pay attention to, especially when they're getting started. But essentially, you want to think about your marketing holistically, right? You want to think about your marketing as an ecosystem and not just in a silo. And so what that means is that you're integrating your marketing across channels, across platforms. And even if you're starting out, right? Say you're starting out as a solopreneur and you're focusing on one platform for marketing, which most people do, right? That's the typical story. They start out promoting their brand on social media. They don't even think about email marketing or text messaging, right? So just think about whatever you're doing on one platform, you want to make sure that it's consistent and it goes across all platforms. So that is the not so secrets. And you want to make sure as you are building and growing and expanding that you don't lose touch with any of the channels that you start to use for your marketing.
Okay. No, that's good. Yeah, you're right. People do concentrate on one. And I've heard this a lot. They're split on email marketing. They're split on what still works, it doesn't work. But what I've come to find out that does work is it gives you more opportunity to be connected with your customer. But everybody's so focused on social media. That's the only way to market. And they put their eggs in that one basket and they're missing out on opportunities. So that's really good. I like that.
Right. I mean, if you think about it from I just was reading some marketing reports. So consumers in general, like this was a study, I forget who the study is by, but consumers have the attention span of a goldfish. And that, like, not even being funny, in realistic numbers, that means that their attention span is 8 seconds, right? But when you think about their buying psychology and where they're actually going to look for information before they buy, before they make a purchase, or before they fall in love with a brand, they're across 3 to 5 channels. So if their attention span is 8 seconds and they're going to 3 to 5 channels, and let's say they go to your 3 to 5 channels that you have, if your messaging is not consistent, it's not going to help whatever it is that you're promoting, selling, trying to create brand awareness or whatever. It's not going to help. You're going to lose 8 seconds across those platforms because there's inconsistent messages. Right. So you want to make sure that you maximize your 8 seconds on each of those channels that the consumer is actually going to be looking at and taking into account before they interact or purchase from your brand. And that's not just at the beginning stage of brand awareness, that's at the acquisition stage, it's at the retention stage. So it goes across and it's a cycle, right? Like I said, it's that ecosystem that you need to be aware of.
That's good. So you're saying, however I show up with my website, my email marketing, my text messaging, my social media, whatever it is, that have the same message every single step. So let's say they see my email and then they go to my website and then I might see a post, but I'm saying the same thing to them. So it's consistent. And then they're getting in their head, like, oh, I kind of do like this product, or I do like this because I've seen the same thing multiple times. That's what you mean, right?
Okay. It doesn't have to be the exact same, but there needs to be some continuity of messaging, right? So depending on the platform, the consumers that show up there may show up differently. So you want to make sure that you're adapting your marketing for the channel and for the platform, but there needs to be some continuity. So if you think about it from the standpoint of repetition, the more repetitive something is, the more someone is going to remember it. So if I go to a brand, this is for everyone who's watching, if I come across your Instagram and I see a message about, a 3-step skincare regimen, right? And then I go to your website and you're talking about pillowcases. It's not going to, right? There's nothing to, first of all, the consumer's going to be like, wait, how does this? I got here because I was looking at the 3-step with my 8 seconds that I had attention span for. Right. And I get to the website and I see pillowcases, right? Maybe not. And even for a more subtle example, it can be, okay, you see a 3-step skincare system, but you get to the website and they're talking about exfoliating brushes for your face, right? That's still relevant, but it's not, there's no continuity, right? Where's the 3-step system come in? So you want to make sure whatever messaging you have across your channels, there's some continuity and connectivity for the customer's brain to be like, oh, okay, like I get it. Or, oh, okay, it's another resonant point for them.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, because some people might think, well, I'm talking about skincare, so I'm saying the same thing, but you're not saying the same message in the same way, so it's not connecting to the customer. That's really good. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I like that. So kind of going along with that, so looking at people's marketing strategies, what do you think is a common mistake that you see a lot of your clients make? Or some of the mistakes, you can go a minute if you want.
Okay. So I would say that the biggest mistake that folks make, and I mentioned this earlier, is that they only focus on one channel, right? And so if you put all your eggs in one basket, if that basket gets a hole in it, then all your eggs are going to go away, right? It's not going to hold any eggs. And so you'll essentially be out of business. And so from that standpoint, putting all your eggs in one basket, that's one. Another mistake that I see people make is that they don't really spend time intimately figuring out who is their customer. And what I mean by that is not just, and I say this all the time, it's more than just demographics. It's more than just, age, gender, race, and where they live. It's really understanding how that person thinks. And a lot of people don't do this one because it's a lot of work, right? It's intense work to have to speak to customers, right? But I will guarantee you, I know clients and people who have amazing brands that have spoken to no less than 500 people to really hone in on who is that customer so that they can really understand them. And it's important. It's not just important to say, okay, I know who my customer is. I have a customer persona for them. It's important because the more you know about them, the more you're going to understand and know how they interact along the customer buyer's journey. And that's very important, especially in today, right? We just talked about customers going to more than one channel, right? So you want to know how they're interacting on those channels. You want to know when they're going to those channels. For what reason are they going to those channels? What are the triggers for them that are getting them to these channels on these platforms? And then what message do you need to have there for them? And then the last thing is, how can you personalize that message, right? Because a lot of consumers want personalization. Although you may have thousands of customers, every customer wants to feel like they are your only customer. So how can you personalize things for them throughout that customer journey? That's why it's so important to really understand the customer. And I don't think a lot of people are really talking about, beyond understanding the customer, how do you then use that information to make your marketing stronger and to make it resonate better with your customers?
Right. That's a very good point. And I hear that a lot. A lot of market experts do say, know your customer, but then you ask people, you just have to know, like when it comes to advertising, just know your demographics and you're good. But you're saying it's deeper than that, right? You're saying that you have to know their habits, their thinking patterns, what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what motivates them, all that, and how your product fits in that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, from an ad standpoint, ads are very different. Ads, it's limited with what you can actually put into the system to look up. So the more you know, the better chance you have to test out different things, right? You have more opportunities to test different things about your customer beyond just their demographics. But yes, it is vitally important to understand and really know, that information about your customer. And then more important to know, how can your brand, how can you use that and leverage that in your marketing?
So I'm hearing people saying, okay, Tara, I hear you. I got that. I agree with that, but I have limited resources, limited time. Like maybe I'm doing, maybe my brand is my side hustle. I have a 9 to 5. I have all going on. How do I dedicate and how do I find the time? But where do I find this information? How do I talk to my customers? How do I find these people in limited amount of resources and time that I have? How do I get to talk to them? Like I hear people saying, okay, I get that. I agree with you. But how do I talk to them besides just going on social media and asking questions? Like, is there other ways you can get to know your customer and ask these questions?
So I'm dating myself. You're going to have to tell people to call you.
Oh, I like that.
Get people on the phone. Like, I understand today just with the rapid pace, like if you're just starting out, right? I don't care if this is your side hustle. I don't care if you're doing this full time. If you're just starting out and you're getting into starting your brand and you haven't talked to one customer, I don't even care if you're talking to them in the DMs. I don't get people on the phone and have a conversation with people. That is a great opportunity for you to ask questions that you don't necessarily, that you wouldn't necessarily get to ask on social media. Now, yes, leverage your platforms. Absolutely. Leverage your platforms. If you have an email list, send out a survey. There are many ways to do it. But at the end of the day, get to people. And if you're comfortable at this stage where we are in the world, get people in person, legit do a focus group, right? Yeah. Get some people, have them come to a coffee shop, get your questions prepared, even put some products on the table and watch and observe how they interact with those products, how they interact with your brand, right? This is like the customer research. You have to do your customer and your market research. And the only way to do that is to talk to people. So I don't care how you talk to people. And if you need to pay them, right, you may not have a lot, give them a coffee. If you're bringing them to a coffee shop, everybody gets a free coffee. You come to the coffee shop, spend an hour with me. I want to ask you some questions. Do whatever you need to do. Get really creative. And then if you are on, again, like I said, social media, leverage those platforms as well and ask people to share and support. And this is where your friends and family come in, because they're not necessarily going to be your customers, but they will share.
Yes.
At least I know a lot of people whose family will share. Now, if your family won't share, you need to, I ain't going to say get a new family because you can't do that. But, right, ask people to share, right? Hey, do you think your girlfriend who has it's probably a bad example, but do you think your girlfriend who suffers with acne will want to come to my focus group? I have a product that I'm launching or that I've been, selling online, and I just want to see how she interacts, get her thoughts on it, and give her some free product. Let her use it for 30 days. Ask her to write down some of the information, like how does she use it? Has she seen any changes? All of that. Get to people. Listen, marketing is really about relationships.
Yep.
And if you're not willing to build relationships with your customers or with who you believe to be your customers, then your marketing is only going to be as good as as the information and the relationships that you have.
Yeah. And I think that was a very good point. I love how you said that, marketing relationships, because I think people think marketing is slapping a Facebook post as you post a reel and a Facebook ad. I'm done with marketing. And understanding that, okay, yeah, I think that's what we're glorified as everybody's saying. Everybody's talking about that, but you pinpoint it's the relationship with those people. Yeah, you might have to do a post, but then are you talking to the DMs with the people? Are you asking their opinions about stuff? You're like, hey, I did this post about this product. What do you think? You want to try it? You want to be one of my test group? So I think you hit it right in the head. A lot of people are missing that. And especially in small retail, they're like, it's just about my TikTok video or my reels and just getting it out there and getting it seen, but they're not connecting with the people that are seeing it to really get the feedback to grow that product. I think that's really key. That was good.
And you know what? I was talking to, I interviewed one of my girlfriends for my podcast. And one of the things that she mentioned to me was that people don't want to work. And she's an operational strategist. So she helps companies with their operations and set those things up and things like that. I forget the question I asked her, but she was like, people don't want to work. And so as I was just thinking back to what I just talked about, as far as the market research and the customer insights and talking to people, a lot of people don't want to do that. Right. And so if you don't want to do that, you either need to find someone to do it for you,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to just continuously spin your wheels trying to figure things out on your own. And this is another mistake. A lot of people try to figure things out on their own, and they build their brand based off of what they want and not based off of what people who have money to pay for their products want.
Yep, that's key. That was good. That was
So,
good.
you have to do the work, especially in the beginning, especially if you're starting out on your own, right? Get connected in some communities that have people who are going or at the same stage as you that you can lean on, that have done it before, right? Get you some mentors, get you some support, get coaching, whatever that looks like for you, get that support so that you can be able to do that for your business.
And I like that you said that. Of course, being a retail consultant, I love that because that's what I do. I help people with those kind of decisions. But I think a lot of people in the beginning stage or in the new stage, either they've been around for a couple of years, feel that they think it as an expense and not an investment. So thinking like, yeah, by getting that help or getting that, okay, looking at their bottom line, looking at their profit loss, oh, that's an expense. But really, it's an investment that can help you grow faster, gives you better results and more consistent results than you wasting 2 years that you could have been making this money a year ago, but because you wanted to do by yourself and you want to pay the money. So I love that you said that, because again, I'm not saying to stretch yourself beyond craziness, but sometimes it is a great investment to get that help, to get pay the focus group or pay the marketing person or pay the branding person or a consultant like myself or yourself to get someone in there like, hey, we can see the bigger picture and save you a lot of money, time, and headache. So I love that you said that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're either going to spend a lot of time up front or some money up front or both, or you figure out the combination for yourself. There's a ton of free resources, but with free resources, just understand that they are going to take a lot of time for you to actually understand, implement, and take to the next level, right? So, wherever you are in your journey, there's no shame, there's no shade or anything like that, but just understand that, free means that you're going to have to put in some work. Paid means that you're going to have to put in some work. However, you're going to have guidance on what is the work that you need to do versus trying to figure out what work you need to do with something that's free, right?
Exactly.
And spinning your wheels. So it's all intertwined there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And again, that's not really talked about a lot. They're like, everybody's trying to get, so you saying get with people who are mentors, they get the mentors, but people who are at the same stages or behind them. And so they're trying to figure that out, but some getting mentors that actually have done what you want and learning so you can go forward and then backwards. That's really good. That's really good. So my next question kind of goes on. So now, Tara, I've listened to you. I'm out here. I listened to you. I got my help. I got my marketing plan. I'm consistent. I'm getting some traction. Now I want to scale and grow. So now I'm in that stage where I feel that I've done some great business. My brand's doing well. I think I'm plateauing now. Now I want to get to the next level or next stage of my business. What are some of the misconceptions you see that a lot of brands do when they want to scale?
I think the biggest misconception, especially related to marketing, is that you can continue doing the same things that you're doing in order to scale, right? And so that may look like you as the founder and CEO right now, today, you are heavily involved in marketing creation. You're heavily involved in the creativity. You're heavily involved in all aspects of marketing. But with scalability comes expansion, collaborations, partnerships, integrations across all of those channels, right? Remember, I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure your marketing is integrated across multiple channels. You may also be expanding into retailers. So you're going to spread yourself thin if you are continuing to be heavily involved and if you only have specialists that you've hired along the way, right? So maybe you've grown your business to a great place, right? You're at the $1 million mark or just about to hit there, or maybe even beyond that mark. And you've been doing well with a social media manager, maybe even a marketing manager, but you've never hired a VP of marketing or even a CMO. And so you're sitting here looking at this organization that you've built, and you may have somebody over product marketing and things like that, right? But everything is kind of siloed. It doesn't mix together. So a lot of people think that they can continue to go ahead and scale without having a CMO or a VP of marketing in place to lead that charge. And so what that person actually does is they come in and they see the forest through the trees, right?
Mhm.
They actually see how everything is connected. They see what your merchandising strategy needs to look like and how that relates to your social media strategy. So again, there's continuity, right? Regardless if I go into a Target or I'm on your website, there's continuity of your brand, your message. If I go on your social media or I get an email from you, there's continuity of messaging and marketing, right? Across those platforms. So long story short, a lot of people who are getting to that scale stage, they may be thinking, wow, we've grown our business. I think it's going really well. We're just going to continue to do what we're doing. We're going to rock out with the team that we have. And what happens is you're going to start to lose some of that continuity, or you as the CEO are going to be playing CEO, CMO, and whatever other role you have within the organization. And so that doesn't really give you your time or your freedom, which is really the reason that we found these businesses and that we get into these businesses in the first place.
That was really good. I've never heard that part before. Because you people talk about scaling, they talk about actually hiring those pieces, hiring the social media manager, hiring the marketing manager, hiring your content writer, and then that's part of scaling. But I like what you're saying, where you get to a certain part of scaling, which is the million mark or whatever, to the point where you can actually get someone who oversees all of that, and then gives you the messaging. Because your point, you're right. Social media manager only cares about what they're saying on social media. They don't care you talk about marketing over here. They don't care about the content. They're like, okay, this is what I'm talking about over here. And then your product manager's like, well, I care about the product and the packaging, and over here, I'm not worried about you. But the CMO cares about all of it.
Correct.
And how your brand is looking. So I like that, because I don't hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people talk about taking to the next step is hiring those people or those pieces. But if you really want to have a good messaging continuity, you need to have somebody who oversees all of that.
Correct.
I like
absolutely.
That.
Yeah. And I also think that if you look at just historically, right? Companies historically, how they've grown, they grow is the word, without a CMO. And most of them do it because they're trying to scrap their way up, right? But at some stage, you need to hire a CMO. I remember I was working with Whole Foods and they hired their first CMO. They had been in business for maybe decades at that point, right? But they had gotten to a point where they were like, no, we need somebody to come in and oversee marketing in its entirety. And that's no small thing to do, right? And so it also helps from the standpoint of employee morale, right? Not stressing out your hires and the people that you have on your team, and making sure that everybody is following the right and going in the right direction, and that they're not spinning their wheels, and that they're not creating just for the sake of creating, right? But historically, companies grow without a CMO. But when you get to that point when you need a CMO, it's kind of almost too late, right? Because you really need someone to come in, or even a VP of marketing. You really need someone to come in and be able to say, okay, let's establish what our working norms are. Let's establish our SOPs. Let's establish what our cadence is going to be. What is our strategy? You really don't have a strategy, right? Or I was talking to a brand a couple of weeks ago, and they said, the founder was like, I'm tired of creating the marketing strategy myself. Right. So if you have the copywriter and the marketing manager and the social media manager, et cetera, but you're still creating the marketing strategy as the CEO, right? It's time to get that off your plate.
Yeah.
So even before you get to that stage where you're saying, okay, I need to hire a CMO, or maybe you're there, you really want to consider, what are these things that I'm doing that don't necessarily fit into the CEO founder role?
That's a good point. So that's one thing too, that we're so used to. A lot of us are, again, been in business a few years and we're newer. And so we're used to wearing all the hats. And so taking all those hats off is kind of like a stretch for us. Like, okay, I take the hats off, but you want to get to the point where you are taking those hats off, because CEO is not the same thing as you said, CFO or even a CMO. The CEO is running the vision of the business. Correct. And everything else is supposed to be done by someone else. But at the beginning stage, you are that person. So you're so used to being in that mode. That's a very good point. So you want to get to the mindset where I can now take that hat off as a good thing.
Yeah.
And give it to someone. A lot of times, oh, they want to have that control, like as my baby, and I want to control it. But then to your point with your client, she's like, okay, I'm tired of having that hat now. I'm ready for the hat to come off. So just be aware, guys, when you start to get to that level, you want those hats to keep coming off. That's the point of scaling those hats off of you. So
Correct.
You have to do it now. You know, I'm doing it now myself. I understand that, but my goal is to get all these hats off of me. Eventually to grow. So I have one less hat now. Now my next one is to get more hats off of me, so I can just talk about the vision. So I get that, but that's really, really good. That's should be your goal. Like, I have one hat now, everything else is off of me, and I'm running a really sustainable brand that has strategies and running without me having to show up.
And it's not without without you having to show up and have your hand in everything. Let's just clarify that. Without you, because you still have to show up. You're the CEO, right? You have to show up, but you're not creating the strategy for it, right? And so I actually encourage folks, even, you're going to scale, your business is going to get to that level of scale. Even before you get there, you should have your strategy outsourced. You should be outsourcing your marketing strategy. Maybe you can't hire a CMO at this time. Outsource your marketing strategy to a consultant, right? A marketing consultant that does that for you, that can then also give that to your team so your team can execute it. You don't have to have the budget, because CMOs are expensive, right? That's especially for a salaried person. So, what I do with my clients is I'm an outsourced CMO for them. So they may not be at the stage where they are ready to hire a CMO. They can outsource their marketing strategy to me. I then give that to their team. The team executes it. I make sure, oversee, they have KPIs and things to track everything. So they're good, right? So regardless where you are in business, you got to start thinking like a CEO. The CEO is not the CMO, the CFO, the COO. They have people there in place for that.
Right. That's good. I'm glad you clarified. I mean, that you don't show up, because I don't have to show up. I didn't mean that. Because
some people will be like, oh, I just ain't.
What I meant. It's your business, it's your vision. You have to show up and have your guide the business where it needs to go. But I mean, that having, like said, physically having to do it yourself is what I'm talking about. Because people right now, they're doing everything, and so they're used to that. But it's a mindset shift. That's what I'm saying. Is then you know what? Okay, I want to oversee it. Here's my vision. Now you run with that vision while I'm over here growing my business. So that's what I meant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. This is really good stuff. So I know you have a free gift for our audience today. What is that today?
Yes. So the Profitable Marketing Playbook, you all can download it. The link will be included in the email or wherever the links are included. But the Profitable Marketing Playbook is a playbook that helps you plan for your marketing campaigns, right? So maybe you've never planned a marketing campaign. Maybe you don't understand what goes into it. There's a checklist there to make sure that you have everything that you need as you're leading up to the campaign. And then at the very end, there are some metrics that you can use to track and monitor if your performance of your campaign, if it's going well or if it's not going well. And these are based off of industry averages. So just keep that in mind. These are averages. And if you're just starting out, I want you to assess where you are, right? If you're starting at 0, you may not hit those averages, but that's something for you to strive towards. So the Profitable Marketing Playbook is there for you. It has a lot of insights on what independent and small brands do online as well as offline to stay competitive. And go ahead and download that. That's my gift to all of you for attending today.
That is very good. So that actually will be a link in the email you got this video in. There'll be a link to that for you. So that's really good. That's really comprehensive. I like that. Well, again, people say, because to your point, they're hearing you and they are understanding, they agree with you, like, well, where do I start? How do I do it? How do I track it? That's a great tool. Like, and now she just told you guys, now you have a tool to walk you through it. So that's really, really good.
Absolutely.
Right? Fantastic. So before we get out of here, I have one more question for you. Okay. So everybody's heard what you said and they're loving it. You gave a lot of gems today. You dropped a lot of knowledge today. But what is one thing you want, if they take anything else away from this, what is one thing you want to walk away from today?
The one thing I want people to walk away from today is that you don't have to do it on your own.
Good.
right? You don't have to do it on your own. And we as women, especially as Black women, have to start utilizing our resources. And in order to do that, we have to open ourselves up to receive. I actually just had this conversation with one of my good girlfriends, and we were just talking about, you know, how we've been raised and the different things that we've seen throughout our lives and how that's impacted how we either weren't open to receive or how we weren't open to asking for help. Right. And so if you are at a stage where you're struggling, you're confused, you may not even be struggling. You may be like, look, I'm doing good, but I know I need some help, or I could use some help, or I'm thinking about the future and I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success. Get the resources you need, right? Some of those resources are going to be free, like I mentioned earlier. Some of those resources are going to be paid, but get the resources that you need and don't be afraid to invest in yourself. That's time, money, energy, travel. Sometimes you got to get on a plane to get where you need to be, to get in front of the people that you need to be in front of, right? So be open to receive, but in order to receive, you first have to take an action in order to receive. So that's the message that I want everyone to take away from today. I'm very passionate about that, and it's a part of how, you know, I work with my clients to actually help them change this narrative of I need to do it all on my own, or I've been doing it on my own, so I'm going to continue to do it on my own because nobody can do it like me. And that's not true.
That is so good. I'm so glad you said that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that, because you kind of like thinking back on ourselves, like, we do have a tendency, superwoman syndrome. Well, I have to do everything in myself, and it's not the case. It really isn't the case. You're stressing yourself out and burning. Like, and I like how you said, because I have clients that was resistant at first, and then I realized that now they're so happy they hired me, because you're like, I'm doing fine for 5 years. You know, I'm doing okay. And then I'm with one conversation, oh, maybe I'm not doing. I thought it was. I mean, she's making money, she's doing well, but there was so much out there she wasn't even understanding, and she was doing it. She's growing. Now she's doing fantastic, because we had, you know, a conversation, and we started having a coaching call, and she's like, okay, because you can need somebody else outside to see it for you and help guide it to you. I'm not saying you can't be successful by yourself, but you can have a higher growth rate and faster growth rate, and it helps you out, not stress you out so much. Like, somebody just, a lot of my clients, like when my client just texts me all the time, bounces her product ideas off me. Hey, what about this? Just me a picture. Hey, because she needs that. She has somebody she can talk to, and she can, like, you know, get it herself, like being in her own and try to figure it out. She has somebody she bounce ideas off of that helps her flow. So however it is, just get the help that you need. So that was good.
Right. Absolutely.
I love that. Well, thank you, Tara. This was a great conversation. I knew it was going to be. I knew you were going to drop knowledge on us. I knew you were going to drop some gems. And you made some really, hope you guys really heard what she says. Go back and look at this video again. Some really good gems in there. Take some notes. It was really, really good. Make sure you get that link and get that copy of the playbook, because you're going to need this for your marketing. Marketing is so beyond what I think people think it is. And she's really going to break it down for you. So I really appreciate you being here. This is fantastic.
Absolutely.
You have a good rest of your day. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and bye, everyone.
Bye.